Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome from the heart of Dripping Springs. We are Mallet and Michelle, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis and Steve Mallet.
Michelle Lewis, how are you?
Hola, Steve.
I'm real excited about today's show. I'm always excited about our show. We always have so much fun.
You need to get out more, but I have to tell you.
This is one of the highlights of my week is doing this show. I really enjoy it.
Well, I thought it was me coming in every day and bringing you an iced tea.
The iced tea is pretty good. Yes, thank you for the Chick-fil-A iced tea.
I like it when you walk in and you're like, yes, a tea.
I know, it's true. I actually was at home getting ready and I was like, man, I hope she brings me an iced tea. And then I was like, yay!
Yay!
So
Yay.
Sponsors, got to thank our wonderful sponsors.
M. Elliott Studio.
Capital Farm Credit.
Nomic Power Solutions.
And
And
the
Mallet
Mallet
Integrity
Integrity Team.
Hey, did you know that we're in real estate?
Yes, I know. Well, was it Chris Betts that said, she asked us last week, so what business are you guys in that pays the bills for this? And I was like, ooh, that's not good.
It's real estate. OnlyFans for real estate.
Yes, OnlyFans for real estate. Yeah. Hey, I want to get to our big stories, but I got a real quick one that I thought was interesting. You've been to Enchanted Rock, haven't you?
I have been.
Have you ever climbed to the top?
I don't remember.
You've never climbed? You don't know? You would remember. It's 425 feet up.
Let me tell you. I raised 3 children while my husband went out of town every other week. The fact that I have any memory of all, I used to take them places all the time to try to get them entertained. I probably have. It's not in my memory bank
you would
at this
remember.
moment.
I've probably done it a dozen times. It's one of my favorite places. Well, one of the things that I haven't liked about it is in like the last 5 years, it's gotten so popular that you have to get reservations to even go there. Not even just camp, just to go.
Okay, remind me where it is.
It's north of Fredericksburg. It's this giant granite dome.
Yes, okay,
Sticks
okay.
up out of the
yes,
ground.
we did take the kids.
Yeah, and it's a real steep hike to get to the top, but you get to the top and you can see 360 degrees for miles and miles and miles. Well, so it's been really crowded and there's not enough room for everybody anymore. You got to make reservations. So they just acquired 630 acres adjacent to the already 1,644 acres. So that park's going to get bigger. I'm hoping they add some camping. I'm some other services. So maybe it'll be easier to go out there and spend some time there. It's a pretty cool place.
So you climb up to the top.
It's a trail. There's some places where it's pretty steep.
And then you look at everything and then you go back down.
Yeah.
And then you decided, you know what? I think I want to go do that again.
We have done that.
You said you've done it dozens of times.
Not all at once.
So I think I'm going to go climb a rock again, look at the same view.
It's different every time you go. It depends on what time of year you go. Actually, we've been out there when the bluebonnets are out. The bluebonnets are gorgeous.
That
There's
is
bluebonnets
beautiful.
everywhere. So
Bluebonnets?
The bluebonnets.
The bluebonnets, for sure. Steve, I think it's kind of funny sometimes that you and I go out and we are recognized or
I know.
I don't know. It's kind of off-putting sometimes.
It's not off-putting.
For me.
It's unsettling to me. It's like because somebody will come up and start talking to us, and they know a lot about us because we spend so much time talking about things going on in our lives, but we don't know anything about who they are.
It can be a little off-putting sometimes. It can be a little especially as a female. Right?
Okay.
I mean, you carry your black Sharpie around and I just
and
walk.
I'll sign anything.
But so who is your favorite celebrity? If you had to pick a celebrity, who was
I'm not really into celebrities.
Who'd you look up to when you were a kid? Was it like, the John Waynes? Was it like Cowboys?
I did look up to John Wayne. I looked up to Michael Jordan. I like David Goggins. Do you know who David Goggins is?
I know the name, but I can't place him right now.
He's this
the character
former
actor?
military. No,
Oh.
former military. Now he's kind of a trainer, influencer. He does a lot of real extreme, like 200-mile runs and 100-mile runs.
Oh,
and,
probably why I don't really follow him.
but he's all into mindset, and so I like watching his stuff. But I don't really. celebrities to me are like, eh.
Have you ever been let down by a celebrity, like somebody that you
many
kind of looked
times.
up to? And
Many
you're like, man, that
times.
sucks. One time I was in Vegas and I saw Emmett Smith.
Yeah.
And I was like, Emmett.
I've met Emmett Smith.
I was like, could I have your autograph? And he was like, oh, no autographs right now, no autographs. Like, oh, come on, it's for my kid. And he wouldn't do it, right?
Oh.
And I go, you used to be my favorite cowboy, right? And then I get stuck in the freaking Bellagio turnstile with him, like, when you go. And I'm like, oh, great, now he's going to kill me in the turnstile. But I was so disappointed in Emmett Smith. I was like, come on, man, like,
Maybe he was just having a bad night.
whatever. But you know that right now people are just kind of over celebrities in general. We've talked many times about the cancel culture. Well, the cancel culture is pretty much hitting really hard on the celebrities. And it kind of talks about, there was an article about it and talks about why it's happening. But it's just, what are you doing?
I'm just toasting our audience
Toasting
there.
your audience. There's really diminishing influence, is what they said, of traditional celebrities. Gone are the days of the Judy Garlands and the Ronald Reagans, that kind of thing. Now you have the Kardashians. We're not even going to mention Sean Puffy Combs and all the disaster that he's going through. Blake Lively, which is Ryan Reynolds' wife. She's kind of a mean girl. Ellen DeGeneres, all these people that kind of had these fall from graces. And one of the reasons why they talk about it in this article is the rise of social media and social media influencers. And so these celebrities don't really have the pool that they used to, or the captivating audience. More and more people are wanting to see real life people. And I think that's kind of true. One of the things the biggest thing, especially during this season right now, is people are sick and tired of your entertainers telling us who you're voting for.
I was just going to say that. Taylor Swift, I'm not a Swiftie,
Yep.
but...
Like, did you had to preface that? I'm not a Swiftie.
Not a Swiftie.
Yeah, everybody, Steve Mallet
Steve's
is
not a
a
Swiftie.
Swiftie.
But I've always been amazed as an artist and as a businesswoman. As a businesswoman, I actually look up to her. She's brilliant. She's made so much money. She's made some really good business moves. She's obviously very savvy. When she came out and endorsed one of the presidential candidates, I thought, why would you do that? Why? Half of your audience is going to go, Taylor, why?
But look, but you know why she did it? Because she's not doing it on her own free will. She's doing it because somebody's telling her to do it and paying her
She's
a lot.
Billionaire. She's a billionaire.
but
Can't
look,
she say, no, I'm not going to do that? That's not good
You're
for
right.
my
Well,
audience.
her morals are already compromised, right? I mean, Swifties don't come
I
after me.
I was
but
disappointed in that.
I'm very disappointed. I mean, if you look at
I'm not disappointed because she chose the candidate that she chose, even though that's not my candidate. I'm disappointed that she thought that was a good business move.
Well,
it wasn't a good business
a lot of understand. I guess a lot of the times you have to understand there's a whole machine behind the audience. I mean, behind the artist. And the machine tells them what to do, tells them what to wear, tells them what time to go to sleep, what time to get up, who to date, that whole thing. There's a rapper, his name is Macklemore. I don't know if you remember this song. It was kind of campy when the kids were younger. Something about it was a coat that he got from Goodwill. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. But he basically chanted F America at a concert this past weekend. And it's going to start backfiring on him.
I think these people get in their little bubble. They're surrounded by their little groupies and agents who all love them, and they tell them they can do no wrong, and they think they can do no wrong, and then they offer their opinions up, and pretty soon their followers are going, nah, not into that.
Well, I think also what is going on is because of social media, it gives before you had the whole paparazzi where paparazzi would follow you around. Well, now you're having celebrities, in order to stay relevant, putting their life up on social media, and there is more scrutiny towards them. And I think this whole social media experiment in general on society is backfiring.
How many times have you heard in the last year, 6 months, somebody say, I just heard Joe Rogan say it this morning. if I wasn't in a business where I needed to have a social media presence, I would have no social media presence. I would not be on social media.
Okay, well, so let me break that down for you because I feel like I still would be,
You would be on social media, but to maybe 2 or 3, maybe 200 people
Yes.
that you care about, that they see what you're doing.
Well, remember a couple of weeks ago you asked me for a 4-day hiatus. You wanted to see if I
Yeah.
could do it. I couldn't do it, and I came close. I came clean to you, and I told you why I couldn't do it. I said because I have children that don't live near me, and especially my 2 that live way up in Oregon.
Yeah.
And that is their form of semi-communication right now, is they put their life on their stories
I
or
get
whatever.
it.
And I'm
I
like,
get it.
I want to be a part of that. And so I felt
So
like,
really what you're saying is you want to go back to what social media was
Yes.
in the first place, which is, oh, hey, my friend Chuck is vacationing in SeaWorld or whatever. And
Yeah.
you want to see that they're having fun with their family.
Yes.
You don't want to see that some a-hole in New York's, that you don't want to see their opinion or
No.
them trying to influence you to act a certain way. That's what drives me nuts.
no,
is
I
like,
couldn't. And because, what brought it to my attention, it was one day and I went one day and Kendall said, oh, did you see the thing that Maddie put where they ate? And I said, no, I didn't. She goes, oh, it looked so good. And I tried to go back and it was gone. Right. Because after on their stories, it's 24
Yeah.
hours. And I kind of felt sad about that. I was like, oh, and so I
Yeah.
texted Maddie, hey, send me that picture,
Yeah.
know? So anyways, I failed at the 4-day lack of social media experiment, but I'm just going to say, if you would ever like an autograph from Steve, I'm joking. Steve doesn't really carry a black Sharpie around. It's a blue Sharpie.
Not that you know.
So bring
yeah, blue Sharpie. I'll sign anything.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
How do you think I got to stay here so long?
Your story is a little bit of a segue into my story, which is the new trend in corporate America. Dumb phones and fax machines are making a comeback. Well, actually, dumb phones as in like flip phones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And one of the reasons is they're actually pull up on the TV. I don't know if people can see them, but there's 2 new phones that have kind of taken off, and all they have is you can call, you can text, but it's the old digital screen, not digital screen, push buttons on the screen, and a lot of bosses are taking to these phones now because it lets them take more control of their time.
It's an Android. It's a Samsung Android.
No, it's not. It's maybe it is.
It is a Galaxy. It's a Samsung.
No. The first one I'm talking about is called the Punkt MPO2. PUNKT.
Okay, wait. Spell
PUNKT.
Punkt phone.
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't know if our
Can
people
you
may be able
yeah,
to
they
see
can kind of
that.
see it. Yeah.
But it's kind of looks like one of the old, I don't know what, like a razor, I guess kind of like a razor without the flip
It
on
looks like a calculator.
Kind of does look like
It
a
does look like a
calculator, but it'll have music. You can obviously make calls. You can do text. There's no social media. There's no email. It's a very basic phone.
Oh, it's grandma's phone.
It's grandma's phone. So what these CEOs and business leaders are saying is it lets me take back control of my time. If you want to email me, I'm only going to check my emails a couple times a day when I'm in front of my computer. I'm not constantly checking them, and I can be more present at meetings. I can. If it's something really important, people know to call one of my assistants, call you, and say, I need to get a hold of Steve, and then you'll decide if it's important or not, or enough or not. So there's a couple different ones. That's the Punkt. There was another one I think it's called the Light Phone 3. But it's kind of starting to be a trend. The Light Phone one I actually thought was kind of cool. It's looks a little, I don't know if it's sort of like a, reminds me of BlackBerry, but without the buttons.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing
This is what my husband needs.
Yeah, Todd would probably love that.
Does Holly need a phone like this? Does she doesn't play around on social media.
Yeah, she plays around on social media. She'd probably, she does it sort of as, she's good about it. She does it as sort of a pastime, just like a few minutes a day. But the other thing that executives are doing, and at first when I read this, I was like, well, that's stupid. A lot of executives now aren't doing email anymore. You have to fax them. And I thought, well, that's just ridiculous. You can't hack into a fax. So from a cybersecurity standpoint, if I had something that needed to be very, very secure that I needed to send to you, if I send it through the phone line and fax it to you, nobody can intercept that. Steal it.
I have a really good next week. I have a really good hacking story that's going to kind of freak you out.
Great.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard about it yet, but I'm going to wait till next week to talk about it. But that kind of makes a little bit of sense.
It does to me too. At first, we don't
even have a fax machine in this office anymore.
No, it's true. But it's interesting how we've kind of gone in this big circle. And there was even there's guys that use pagers again. There was one guy that's a CEO.
Are you a drug dealer?
Yeah. When he runs with a Sony Walkman with the wired headphones, just because he wants to kind of go back to the old stuff. If he runs with a phone, people are texting him, people are, the things ding, and so they're, trying to take control of their time. But it kind of made me wonder, if sometimes if we are using technology or if technology is using us.
Oh, that's a good one. Look at you, Steve, with that little tagline.
You like that? Yeah.
I do.
But it's true. I sometimes get on my phone and I'm on Instagram or something and I'm thinking, geez, I feel like all I'm doing is I've immersed myself in something that's trying to manipulate me.
I do have to say, as much as you gripe and moan about the use of social media.
It's funny.
You have taught me all of the cool shit on social media.
It's my nature though, right? If we're going to do something, we're going to try and do it the right way. I'm certainly not an expert on social media, but I feel like if we're going to do it, we might as well at least try. So
That's true. Hey, Steve, what is your horoscope sign?
Aquarius.
Oh.
Are you surprised I know that?
I am. Do you know what I am? December 2nd.
Oh God,
I know.
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
Are you Sagittarius?
I am.
Oh, just a wild ass guess.
I don't really know I don't follow horoscopes. I know that my husband's a Gemini. I'm a Sagittarius. Apparently we're total opposite.
I love swimming and I'm an Aquarius. So then that's something to do with water. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't really follow that. But do you know the new trend now is what day of the week are you? So I'm
intrigued.
Every day of the week, excuse me, every day of the week, there's a weekday theory. Every day of the week proposes that there are 7 distinctive personality types. What day of the week would you guess that I was?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. Should I jump to a Saturday and tell you what a Saturday is?
Yes.
Okay. I'll jump to a Saturday. A Saturday's personalities are free-spirited, adventurous, and leisurely, but they struggle with having to do boring tasks. So I actually...
You are a Saturday.
Well, I self-identified as I was stuck between a Thursday and a Friday, quite honestly. So a Thursday is you're optimistic, you're forward-thinking, you're social, but you struggle with dealing with pessimistic people and Debbie Downers. And then a Friday is you're joyful, sociable, and relaxed, but you struggle with having to deal with people who do not speak their minds. So I feel like I was kind of stuck between the two. So I'll start at the beginning and then I'll skip the ones.
Based on this trend, I'm thinking I'm a Monday or a Tuesday.
Okay,
probably.
Monday, you're determined, you're ambitious, you're resilient, and struggles with knowing when to stop working. Okay.
Okay,
that
sounds like Monday to me.
Monday's often seen as hardworking, focused, embodying the determination to start new tasks, face the challenges of the week ahead. I remember it was funny when probably like a year or so after I started working for you, you were like, every Monday we're going to come in and we're going to talk about our goals. And I'm like, you will be dead by Tuesday.
A lot of the stuff that I really was into when you first started working to me has gone out the window, and most of it for the good. Some of it I wouldn't mind bringing it back, but most of it for the good.
Okay, Tuesdays, you're energetic, you're productive, and you're driven, but you struggle with fear of failure or fear of missing out. Wednesday, you're balanced, reflective, and adaptable, and you struggle with being the center of attention. We are neither Wednesday. Neither of us are Wednesday. Actually, do you know what day of the week you were born on?
No, no
I was
idea.
born on Wednesday, so I was always told I was a Wednesday's child, but apparently I don't identify as that. Okay, so then we said Saturday. Okay, so now Sunday, you're reflective, peaceful, restorative. Neither of us are that, and having to deal with anxious people. Now that kind of, but
Which day was that?
that's a Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not a Sunday.
That is a Sunday.
I'd say I'm a mix between Monday and Tuesday, and you're probably a mix between Thursday and Friday.
I think a Thursday and Friday. It says for instance, anyone who identifies as a Monday is unlikely to also identify with themselves as being lazy. This is because society generally attributes the human-like characteristics of productivity to Mondays, which of course is I can't even say this, the antithetical to laziness.
Yeah, antithetical.
Yeah, this is why one can deduce that
Antithetical?
Monday people
Antithetical?
likely have similar habits and behaviors that are distinctively unlike those of lazy people. So
That's pretty interesting.
so if you ask somebody what day of the week do they think they are, it's based on the idea that society generally attributes the same human-like characteristics to certain days of the week. So I think now, here you go. There's
There
a
you go,
conversation
folks.
starter.
There is a conversation starter for your next dinner with friends. What
Okay.
day of the week are you? Where did you find that story? Do you know what?
I did, but I have to tell you a funny story. It's called the weekday theory. It's peek into your subconscious mind.
Okay.
We have a friend of ours, Darla and Michael, and one time I was in Dallas on a Monday, and we were hanging out by the pool, Darla and I, and her husband Michael was working from home, and he's like frantic because we're leisurely, we're having a cocktail by the pool, and he's like, I think he's irritated because he's working and we're not working. And so now our thing is, oh, look, there's Monday. And so every time he walked by, so it's a thing of us. We're like,
That's
oh,
pretty
look,
funny.
it's Monday.
I'll have to talk to that one with Holly and figure out what she is.
That's right.
Have you ever spent one of your weekends binge watching anything on TV?
I did Narcos with Darla and Michael, as a matter of fact.
Look at that.
One weekend we laid on the couch the whole time. It was snowing or freezing here in Austin, and they came for the weekend, and we just doubled down and watched Narcos.
Have you ever thought about why you're so driven to watch the next episode?
I don't think, honestly, I could watch network TV and have to wait till the next week.
So that's
I don't think I could
interesting
do that.
because it was actually the whole binge watching thing has been designed by the streaming companies whose whole philosophy is we're anti-TV. And so, yes, that's, like what are on HBO or something, they release one episode a week. Drives me crazy because by the time the
I won't
next
watch
week
it.
comes, I'm like, I don't even remember what
I'll
happened
wait a
last
year.
week.
I don't
Yes.
care if everybody else is talking about it on social media. I will wait a year to watch the whole series.
So the streaming companies came up with that, and they actually have sort of a system that they build into these episodes that keep you glued and wanting to come back, and it sort of feeds into your subconscious about, every episode you're like, they leave you with something and you go, oh, I have to know what happens next. And that drives you to sit through one more hour. So Netflix actually was the first one that came up with it. But binge watching is defined as anything over 4 hours of viewing TV in one sitting.
Oh.
Meaning you just went 4 hours straight, maybe took a break to go to the bathroom or grab a sandwich or something. But what do you look? You're pulling
Well,
up?
no, I wasn't. I was just.
Oh,
I was just.
Yeah. So, it's Holly and I do binge watching sometimes, and we'll find these little British murder mystery shows on Netflix, which we love, and we find ourselves all the time like, well, let's just watch one more.
Have you seen that? Speaking of murder mysteries, I was going to ask you. It's totally off topic. Have you seen Wicked Little Letters yet?
Yes,
That's a true story.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. I think it's based on a true
It's based
story.
on a true story. It's really interesting.
That's a really good one, and that's because it's like 6 episodes.
No,
right?
that one was
it a
actually
movie?
a movie. That one was a
Okay.
movie. But you know what my go-to show has been for the last couple months, Todd and I, and it's actually really kind of funny. It was a USA show on the USA Network.
Okay.
Like back in 2001, 2002, something like that. We are like 3 episodes away.
What is it called?
Well, we're 3 episodes away now from the very end. I think there's like 16 seasons. We've been watching
Oh my gosh.
Monk.
Oh geez.
It is my absolute
'Cause it's so
favorite
funny. Is
show.
it funny?
It's easy watching. It's one of those like you
Yeah.
just watch at the end of the night. There's apparently a Monk movie, but I love the show. I'm so sad that Monk is now. I have been binge watched for months now.
Yeah.
But I love
you'll
the
find something else.
I know, but like you think about it, that show was on USA for 15 years, 16 years,
That's
and
crazy.
it's taken me a couple of months to watch this show.
Yeah.
But
It is nice finding a show like that you could just sit down. Pawn Stars is on Netflix now. And that's what it was for us. It's like, okay, we got half an hour before we're going to go to bed. Let's just put Pawn Stars on. Because you just sit there. There's nothing serious about it. It's just fun. And then the time goes away and you go to sleep.
I watch Hoarders like that on Sunday morning.
Oh, I can't watch Hoarders. Cannot watch Hoarders. Hey, we forgot to talk about our guest.
Oh my gosh, Judge Tanner. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, look down ballot. Tanner taught me something very interesting, is that most people will only vote for everything, the headliners,
Right.
basically, right? And a lot of people don't go vote down ballot,
Right.
meaning our local offices. It is very
Like, a lot of
important to
times
pay
people
attention.
go into the voting booth. They haven't even done any research
No.
on below like
I've
the
done
top
that.
2 or
I've
3.
done it.
I hate to admit it. I've done it too.
I have been guilty of that, and I'm like, that name looks nice. Well, look, if there's one name, well, a couple of names, but if there's one name today that I want you to remember and put in your brain, it's going to be Judge Tanner.
Neidhardt.
Neidhardt.
Yeah. Judge Tanner Neidhardt. Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a little break and get him in here. But listen, I wanted to ask the people that are listening and watching on Instagram Live, if you like our show, normally we say, hey, go follow us and leave a review. I want you to, when you're done listening, text a friend and say, hey, I listened to the show and I really like it. Take a listen and let me know what you think.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I want people to, spread the word a little bit and then let us know. MalAndMichelle@gmail.com.
That
What
would
your
be
friends
great.
think about the show.
And if you don't have any friends like Steve, call me and I'll hook you up with some people.
But I'm the one that gets all the autograph requests. I'm just saying.
I'm sure.
That's all me.
I'm sure because my handlers have to handle all. Sierra actually is my handler when we go to Founders or something like that.
I think she's just keeping you in line. She's not keeping anybody away
True,
from
because
you.
I go on adventures.
Yeah, you do. All right, well, let's take a little break and get Judge Tanner in here.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Nomic Power Solutions. Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Proudly sponsored by
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit CapitalFarmCredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Interior design should be an investment in your life and home. Let M. Elliott Studio transform your space, where interior design meets excellence in Central Texas.
Beyond just selecting colors and furnishings, team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, is a trained and licensed interior designer.
With her knowledge of architectural principles, building codes, space planning, and design theory, her team will work with you to understand your needs and lifestyle.
From concept to completion, M. Elliott Studio is committed to enhancing your space with a timeless and classic style.
Ready to redefine your space?
melliottstudio.com, 512-781-0224.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallet Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at malletintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
And we are back here with Judge Tanner Neidhardt, our Hays County District Court Judge. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me here. I love what you guys are doing. I love that you talk about Dripping Springs, and this is important stuff. I mean, congratulations to y'all. And people listen. They like it.
Yeah, they do. Amazingly,
we have
they do.
Two people. Two people.
Yeah. My mom and you. But thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. I know you had a long day and you made a trip over here. It's a little later than we normally record, and we appreciate your time.
Steve may fall asleep in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah,
just know
8:30 is my bedtime.
Yeah, he's on Luby's time. Yeah, absolutely,
right.
for sure.
Yeah.
So you live here in Dripping Springs.
That's right.
You're a citizen of this wonderful town.
That's
so
true.
you really kind of care about what goes on in here. But you're running for or not. It's actually not re-election.
That's right.
Because
I
you
was
were
appointed.
appointed by Governor Abbott. So explain that process.
Sure. Well, Hays County is growing so fast, as you all know, just as Dripping Springs is. And when that happens, the legislature will create a new court. When that new court is created, which is to take down the backlog because it's gotten so big, and they make that determination based on how many cases are pending. If you have too many cases pending, then that's an idea. You need a new court.
Okay.
So the legislature created the new court, and the governor makes the first appointment.
Oh, okay.
And then at the next election, you have to run. So I've been on the bench now 20 months. And November will be that first election, and I'm trying to keep that bench.
Yeah.
So have you ever run for elected office before?
I have. When I was in San Antonio, I started my career. Well, first I was down on the border. I went to UT Law School, and I did a master's in Latin American Studies. And I'm really passionate about Latin America and going down there and what I've seen and the perspectives that you get. So I wanted to go to the border, and I did a federal clerkship there.
Down in Brownsville, right?
Brownsville.
That's
Oh,
right.
wow.
I'm a Valley girl.
Oh, muy
so
bien.
I know. Yes.
¿De cuál parte?
I'm Güerita Barbie. That's what I am.
¿De cuál parte de
Yes,
ahí?
Tickle Barbie.
See.
You're in.
I'm in. Yeah. Go ahead. Let's go ahead.
So and then after that, I moved to San Antonio and was a prosecutor for 7 years. And while I was there, there was a judge who I went in front of regularly, and something just wasn't right about the way things were going.
He didn't pass the smell test. There
That's
you
a
go.
good way of saying it, very euphemistically. And so I ended up, I was young then, but I ended up running because for a judge, for what we do, integrity is so important. And that was the question that I had, not about his sentencings or this or that. It was about that question of integrity.
Yeah.
So I said, I've got to run. No one was going to run against him because he was the setting judge. And so I ran. Also, when I ran, that encouraged another to run. They said, well, if this young guy's going to run, then I got more than him. And I guess 3 days before early voting, that judge, what I had thought was going on was correct.
Oof.
And he was indicted for taking bribes and then ended up serving 2 years day for day in a federal prison. And so that's when I ran, and you know, like I said, that other person got in. But look, even though I didn't win that race, I think it was important. And the reason is that other person got in the race. And, you know,
Who wouldn't have if you hadn't stepped in?
I think in a lot of ways, no.
That's a very optimistic way of looking at things.
Look
Look at you.
Yeah. Well, look, we're not entitled to a good legal system. We're not entitled to anything in this country, and certainly not from our government. We have to make it work. We have to make the courts credible, legitimate, give people confidence in him so they can trust us. And so we needed to run. And my other opponent, who this was all in the same primary, needed to run, because if you had someone who was doing those things, they don't need to be in a position of responsibility like that.
Yeah. It's pretty rare, isn't it, that a judge gets indicted for anything? I mean, to reach that level, you have generally got to have a pretty good track record. It's pretty rare, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't see it very often.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers to compare, but one's enough for people in a community like San Antonio, the 7th largest city in the United States, to go, what's going on down there at that courthouse? And it bleeds over into other courts and other judges and into our system.
And counties. And
that's right.
Well, it makes people not think that the system is working, which is, and you mentioned it in one of your bios. You said something about the legal system's currently in jeopardy.
Right.
So expand on that.
Well, I mean, right now we have one half of the United States who thinks that the courts are being used to attack one candidate. You think the other half thinks that the courts are not being used enough to attack the candidate. And so the courts have now become politicized, and that's a real danger. We had the annual judicial conference last week, and there were 700 judges from around Texas who were there. And we had Olson was his name. He's a Texas A&M professor now, former CIA agent. And they asked him, what do you think is one of the biggest problems that we have in law enforcement now? And he says it's the politicization of the FBI, the CIA, and he named some areas. And no doubt you guys are familiar with those.
Sure.
And he said when those things started happening, it deteriorated the reputation of those agencies, because there should never be an agency who is gathering data for political purposes. It should be gathering intelligence to protect our country or to keep us safe. And when you start having that deterioration, it's a real problem. Same thing in the courts. The courts have to be nonpartisan in everything we do, or we're going to lose the trust of the community.
Yeah, and so it goes from the top down too. I mean, all the way to people that are going in front of somebody for a minor violation think, this court's just they're going to throw me in jail because for whatever bias or whatever. They doubt the whole system. So yeah,
nor do they respect the process.
Let me give you an example. I teach at Texas State. I have a class on the courts, and in our first day of class, I asked the students to tell me what they think of the criminal justice system. It was incredible. 20 things showing that the system is broken. The judges are corrupt. The prosecutors are just trying to make a name for themselves. The defense attorneys aren't interested in their clients. The public defender's office is too busy and so they can't win cases. I don't find any of those things to be true. I find that people very zealously represent their clients. I find that the public defenders that we have here in Hays County are very dedicated to what they do. I find that my colleagues, the judges, are interested in doing the best job at what they're doing. But to think that students that are 19, 18, 19, 20, 21.
So what was this class?
It's called Courts and Criminal Procedure.
So it's sort of like an entry level if you're thinking about getting into
It's in the criminal justice. Texas State has one of the best criminal.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But I guess it's the perception nowadays of any kind of law enforcement position where it's not valued, it's not trusted, and everybody's out to get them. It's that generation of everybody's out to get them. You mentioned being 18, 19 years old, and me being the superb stalker that I am. I realized that you graduated valedictorian of your class. You grew up in Lindsay, Texas, and at the time you had less than 600 people. So now, considering you're a sitting judge, did you ever imagine your life that this is where you would be, coming from this little podunk town, and now here you are?
No, of course I didn't. The world there, though, was filled with people who supported big ideas. You know, I'll tell you a story, for instance, on that. I was on the football team, and you look at me and you go, well, what did you play?
Yeah.
Remember, we were 1A, you know? Okay. We were in different strings. But I played soccer. As they called it, the communist sport. And I played in Dallas, which was an hour and a half away. But it meant that I could kick a ball. And for the longest time, the team put the ball on its side, and it was called the watermelon kick. They didn't put it on a tee, and they picked like the biggest guy on the team, usually a lineman, usually the center, and he would run up and toe poke it and kick it. So what happens in 1A very often is that the scores will be 6-12 or some strange arrangement, because it's not by sevens, because they don't usually kick extra points.
Yeah.
So I came along and said, my senior year, I said, I can kick, and will you let me be the kicker? And I was the kicker. We had a great year that year for this small town. We go on to playoffs, and we're doing better and better, and then we get so deep that it's at Thanksgiving. So Dripping Springs folks know going into Thanksgiving means you're deep into the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that was also the same weekend that one of the biggest tournaments for recruiting soccer players was in Washington, D.C. Oh. And so now I got my football team, my high school buddies that I've been with, because I went to school with these guys K through 12. I mean, these are my longest
all
friends.
All 7 of them.
Yeah. There were 8 guys.
Come on, Michelle.
Yeah. We had 11 girls and 8 guys in our class. We had a total of 19. So, and that was a public school, remember?
Oh, wow.
And so I went to the guys. I said, guys, I got this big opportunity. And we've got this game. What do you want me to do? And to every single one of those guys who football was everything.
Yeah.
Football's king. They all said, you're going to DC.
Wow.
You're going to Washington. I couldn't believe it, And the reason was, they said to me, this is your way out. They wanted, I was so scared to go to my best friends and say that to him. But I still remember it to that day. Now, I then went and told my coach, and he said, get out of the locker room.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. I mean, he really said it was that, not the hell. It was worse.
Oh,
and he
geez.
said, he was really mad. So he just kicked me off immediately. So some freshman was the kicker. It was a disaster, but they won again. Oh. After they won again, they won that Thanksgiving weekend. I was back and could have played.
But coach wouldn't let you.
Oh, heck no. He took a stand. And, I thought that was really unfortunate. But let's set aside my great football career. I sound like Al Bundy here, talking about
funny.
throwing the great pass.
I know sell shoes at the mall. That was great.
That's right. But to go back to answer that question, people were enthusiastic about you going on and doing great things. I love that little town where I'm from. I love going back. I see my friends. I call them.
Do your parents still live there? Are your parents still living?
So my mom died 2004, and my dad still lives there. So I go up and I see him. And the reason we lived there was he was a veterinarian, and he was the county vet.
Oh,
wow.
And so we knew everyone because
very Mayberry.
Yeah. He was, farming and ranching was what everyone did. And so he was all around the community, and I was there riding shotgun and picking up the come along to go pull calves. And amazingly, all calves, did you know, are somehow born in January in negative 32 degrees on a hill with the wind coming. Wet
and muddy,
That's right. And here I am with the come along.
Well, you left there, and then you went to Memphis.
Yes.
You go
Is that for school?
I went to college in Memphis.
Rhodes
College.
And you played college soccer there.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went to DC, were selected, and got
the coach saw me at that tournament. He actually did see me there.
And you got a
And
scholarship.
from there, he recruited me. Division III doesn't have, it's a Division III. We don't have athletic scholarships. They help you with leadership scholarships in other ways, but I don't want to mislead that it was athletic.
It was like Rudy.
It was a great team. We went to the national tournament 3 out of our 4 years.
Wow.
And it was great fun. And, I learned a lot about teamwork, I think when you see a lot of former athletes, team athletes, and how they are in their careers, there's a relationship there.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Was it big town shock, though, going from Lindsay to Memphis, and now all of a sudden you're like surrounded by more people you probably ever have been, except when you went to Dallas to go shopping?
Sure, yeah. Well, because I played soccer in Dallas, I had been to the big city a lot.
The big city.
and so and I had friends on the soccer team, and I would we'd have a long tournament weekend, or we'd have a camp or something, and I would stay with those guys. So it wasn't that I was just a total fish out of water. And then of course we did UIL, and that took us to Austin all the time.
Oh yeah.
And there was nothing greater than going to state. And and I got to do a lot of things because, not a lot of boys at a 1A school are signing up for one-act play, but it changes you a lot too. I had a really thick small town accent.
Oh yeah.
But it's not so good when you're like, Juliet, get on down off that balcony.
Juliet, get on down.
At what point did you realize you wanted to go into law?
When I went to Rhodes, they had the top mock trial program in the country. And I started doing mock trial there, and I just loved it. I had done debate.
Okay.
And I think that there's a lot of debaters end up going into law.
I could see that.
And so it was kind of a natural. You've been speaking, and I think that's probably with mock trial is what sent me in that direction.
Yeah. And so then you graduate from Rhodes, and then what happened after that?
So I had a professor who said, his name's Professor LaRosa. He was just such a good professor. He was very young, and he said, whatever you do, don't go straight to law school. And I would echo that to anyone who asked me, because once you get out of law school, you have to start paying off loans. You have to start working. And then once you're an attorney, you're going to be doing that for a very long time. He said, do something else. So I went to New York City, and
I saw that you were a law clerk.
That's a very law clerk would suggest that I had a legal side too. I was a document clerk, is I think what it was.
Okay.
And I worked at a great law firm, and I made $29,000, and I still lived on the Upper East Side in a tiny little place, and I lived in the living room of the place. Both the other guys had rooms, and I had this bed that was a futon that would kind of go click, 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 and you put it down. And I lived there, and I worked there for a year and a half, and that was a fish out of water. You can go to Memphis, and that's
New
still
York's
the South.
its own place.
It's its own place.
Well, you're still in the
it's wild.
South. You're still in the South. And then you go up to New York
to
City.
New York, right?
Yeah.
And I wore my cowboy hat, and they're like, you probably shouldn't wear that on the subway. But it was such a wonderful experience. At that point, the Met was free, and I would go on Sunday mornings before anyone would get there. And so here is this kid from Lindsay, Texas, who, if I'd get there early and I'd go straight to the back rooms, is with Picassos and Monets.
I
and
love
just
the Met.
all of these incredible artists.
There's
by
so
myself.
There's so many cool things in New York. I took my daughter there when she graduated from high school, and we had such a great time. I could live there, but I don't. My wife would hate it.
By the way, the Met is still free if you tell them you live in New York City.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Well, they just so many things that you could do. Also, I went to a lot of Broadway shows.
Oh,
Because, we go back to that one-act play days. I wanted to see shows, but you can go, at that point, The Lion King was out, and it was the hottest Broadway
I just
show.
saw that in March, I think,
What'd
is
you
when I
think?
went. It was
Gracie just saw
amazing.
it, yeah.
But I was surprised, not to be a fashion snob, but we were all dressed up and there were people that just weren't. And I thought, I'm going to a Broadway show. Yeah, like get all dressed up.
You got to look the part.
Yeah.
It's Friday casual every day in the U.S.
Well,
now.
no, we went to Spa. Wait, was it called Spagos? We were on a mobster tour, so we were trying to do all things mobster, so we kind of look like
Oh, I
mobster
remember
wise.
that. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now. So now you're the district judge.
That's right. We have 6 district judges in Hayes County.
Okay.
District judges do felonies up to capital murder, shootings, robberies, burglaries, just regular murder.
Just regular murder.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
That didn't come off so well. Versus capital murders.
Oh,
And so that's the range that we do. But we in Hayes County also have general jurisdiction, which means that we do civil too.
Okay.
So that would be disputes between businesses or
Podcast
someone in
hosts.
abuse. That's right.
Yeah.
if podcast hosts, if y'all end up
if you're in
going,
an abusive
Yes,
relationship,
yes.
if y'all go, if
with
this
your-
breaks up, you may
your
be in
podcast
front of me.
Yeah, we're gonna have to split this $27 somehow, Michelle.
That's right. It's $27. That's the way it's going to go.
And so, how much of your time do you spend actually? What do you call that? Presiding over
That's
cases?
right. So I think it would be probably about 75% criminal,
Okay.
about what's left, 23% civil,
Okay.
and about 2% family law.
Okay.
Hayes County has a family law
Court,
judge, and that family law judge hears all of the family law. And we're really, really lucky to have him. They don't have this all over. County leaders at some point said, let's do this. And it makes a big difference
bet.
for people to have access. And those cases are related to our children. And so they need to be done timely. And so it's a great thing that we
We
have
also
that.
have a mental health court now, too.
We do
Elaine
have a mental
Brown.
health. That's right.
So, is this your first judgeship?
It is.
Okay. How did you learn to be a judge? Is there judge school?
It's Judge for Dummies.
Yeah.
There's a book.
No, seriously, because we watched your live stream today, which we'll talk about in a second. And it's obvious that there are certain very specific ways that you handle things and very specific things that you say in your own way, obviously. But how did you learn that?
By being in front of really good judges.
Okay.
This is one of the things that inspires me is those judges that I was before as an attorney when I was a prosecutor. Really great judges who knew the law, who cared about it, were very nonpartisan at that point. Most judges who were doing a good job, no one ran against them in those days. I think there was a deference for the good judges. And so they had been there a while and they knew it. And I still keep in touch with those judges. I even call them sometimes when I get off the bench and I say, hey, this is what I'm facing. What do you think? But I think that's really, I saw what they were doing. And I was in front of so many judges. There's so many judges down in San Antonio that you can pick the ones that you thought were doing the job and you have an example. And that's one of the things that I've done is try to bring some of those very best parts of a big county like San Antonio or Bexar County to Hayes County. And so that's, sometimes that has rocked the boat because you bring in change and people are necessarily reluctant to that change. But we're not the same Hayes County as we were.
Absolutely not. Well, I know the fact that you sometimes sit on murder cases. I mean, murder 25 years ago in Hayes County was probably a pretty rare thing.
I hope so. Yeah.
But now we have it. I don't know how often, but
that's right. I mean, just look at the number of cases that we have. And so I saw those judges and those judges who were ready to go to trial all the time. You knew those that were kind of dodging trial because they had never done it.
Yeah.
And if you've never done it, to do something new, because you need to control the courtroom. You need to be able to manage the courtroom. And this can't be a first-time thing. When you walk into the courtroom, we run jury trials, so you need to be jury trial ready. And that is I would see those judges, and if you weren't jury trial, you were avoiding trial all the time. These judges didn't. And what that meant is that they could move their dockets. And move their dockets, what does that mean? That means they could get through cases. They could manage the cases. And instead of people waiting in jail for, and here, when I got to Hayes, there were a lot of people who were awaiting their trial who had been in jail for over 1,000 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they're
For
just,
what kind of crimes?
Felonies.
Okay.
But
they're not having their
still.
time, their day in court per se, right? They're sitting there waiting because there weren't enough judges. Is that what we're saying, or the process? I want you to walk me through the moment from someone getting arrested to someone going before you.
Sure. Let's say it is a aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. That's a shooting case. I mean, it could be a knife case, but let's say there's a shooting. If police respond and they find the person that day and they've got enough probable cause to arrest, it will be an officer who is, an officer on the street, a patrol officer who will respond, not the detective yet, even for these bigger cases. They'll make the arrest. They'll take that person down to the county jail. They have to write a report, and that goes in front of a magistrate judge. We have 3 great magistrate judges in Hayes County. We're very lucky. They look and make sure that that officer has articulated probable cause. If they don't find probable cause, that person gets released right then.
Okay.
They have a very important job. They also look at the bond and decide, is this person
A flight risk
that's exactly right, a flight risk, a threat to the community, and they set the bonds accordingly. These guys do it very well. They set conditions. They look at these 3 judges that we have. They look at those issues all the time when they come in. At that point, then, the defendant may make bond and he gets out, or he doesn't make bond and he's in custody. The case then goes to the DA's office. Well, they goes to the detective first. The detective will work up the case further. On the bigger cases, they'll do interviews. They'll go and see, if it happened outside a gas station, do they have the camera from that day, the camera working?
They're gathering evidence.
They gather all the
But
evidence.
there's no set timeline, like by law, that from the time it goes from the magistrate setting bond to it going to the DA. Like are there timelines or benchmarks that they have to hit?
Yes. The
Okay.
case has to be indicted within a certain amount of time.
Okay.
And if it is not, then the defendant automatically is released from jail. So the detectives need to be working up the case. and
Release with no consequences, or just
their case
released
will
and
still be pending.
Okay. Okay.
But they're not in custody. They may not have
So
conditions.
the arrest is on probable cause, but that probable cause is not enough to convict them. So while they are in jail, then the detective is gathering enough evidence to go to court to prove that this person committed the crime.
He or she is gathering enough evidence to give to the DA's office so that the DA's office takes another look at it. I mean, this is another level of making sure that this is done right.
Layers of justice.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like it. And then they have to go and indict the case. If the DA's office, even if a detective puts it all together, the DA's office may decide that they're not going to indict. But if they do indict, they have timelines that they have to do it. And
If they don't indict, if they don't indict, the person goes. The
That's
person
right.
walks. Okay.
Now, if it's before that timeline that they have and they decide they're not going to indict, they will signal that. That doesn't come to the district court yet.
Okay.
Because they're still working it up. And they'll signal it and the person will be released if the DA's office decides not to indict. Then after they indict, then it goes into a district court. It gets assigned. And the process really starts because attorneys are appointed at that point for the defendant if he is indigent or she is indigent. Or the attorney comes along and they have the right to discovery. And discovery means all the evidence
Investigation,
that the state has, they have to turn it over. We now have something called the Michael Morton Act in Texas. It says everything has to be turned over except for the work product of the district attorney's office. They have to just turn everything over. So there's nothing that is left to decisions. There's an old Brady that said you may turn over some, and there were different standards. We don't have that anymore.
Okay.
Turn it all over. Now the defense attorney starts looking at it. The state starts talking to their witnesses even more. They're working the case up. And all along, we're having pretrial settings, and then we're moving it forward. And that's where you get to where you'll have cases that are over 1,000 days that we were talking about before we came on.
And that's when it's on your docket.
It's
right?
on our docket.
Which is your schedule, per se, right?
It's our list of cases.
Okay.
And so then you've got now what that judge does, how that judge manages the docket is what's going to determine whether people are being timely moved out of jail, whether it's the system is run efficiently or not efficiently. You want fairness, you're balancing efficiency and fairness, but a judge's job is first, I think, to the Constitution. And that means the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th Amendments are all about defendants. So that's our priority. I mean, many people think, for instance, victims and defendants have the same rights. Think about the Constitution. What does it say about victims in the Constitution?
I don't know. Tell me.
Nothing. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's all about defendants' rights. That's, when you think about it, we have life and liberty in this country. That's the bedrock of what we're here about. And we're only going to take that life or liberty after due process. So they set up all of these rules. Now, that never, ever means that I'm not always wanting to respect a victim and empower them to tell what happened. But you've got the defendant's rights that are guiding us.
So isn't that because the founders didn't want the courts the judicial system to be used to prosecute people because of their beliefs or religion or whatever? So these checks were put in place so that they were protected.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And you have to start at the most basic point, life and liberty. That's what we were about. You had freedom in this country, and it can only be taken if the state goes through this long process that we started, where you have the arrest, you have the probable cause, the magistrates, then you have the indictment. It has to go for another set of community members who are on the grand jury. Then it goes, and there's just step. And only when that happens can we take life and liberty from someone. Right. And that's an incredible thing that we have to protect, because it's at the foundation of what this country stands for.
Yeah, and the fact that the founders had that foresight to see that way back is amazing, really.
It really
is.
It's
really the only time it's ever been done in history.
And think about it, too. What's amazing about that document is it's been around for over 200 years.
Yeah.
What other thing do we have? One president will come in and he'll sign a bunch of executive orders. 4 years later, another president will come in.
And she'll most of those.
That's right. She'll do the other 4.
Right.
Everything changes. Our laws are changing. This is changing. That's changing. But for over 200 years, that little piece of paper that laid out these
has not changed.
These basic rights has not changed. Yep. So on the one hand, judges are guided by that Constitution. Right. I'm guided by that Constitution. And then on the other hand, we also have a duty to administer the courts. And it says in the Texas Constitution that it should be done efficiently. And that those go together. Someone who waits over 1,000 days for their trial, that's inconsistent with both of those duties that we have: to the public to efficiently administer the courts, to the defendant to give him a speedy trial. Sure. And let me give you the example. There was an officer who was killed in the line of duty. His name was Officer Copeland. He was an incredible officer by all accounts. What he would do was carry around some Topo Chico in the back of his car. And when he had a good interaction with someone, he would share that with them. That was the kind of guy he was. One day he went to deliver a warrant. We forget sometimes how
simple,
how dangerous these jobs are. And the person on the other side had decided that he was going to shoot that officer. And it happened to be Officer Copeland. It was all on the body cam. Oh. And so when they ended up going to trial, it was a quick trial. I think it was over in about a day. But it took 7 years for that trial to go before a jury, for that case to go to a jury trial. And so you think about it, the rights of the defendant to a speedy trial, he was held in jail for that long. 7 years. He was held, over 2,000 days that he's held in jail. And then you take the family of the Copelands.
Waiting for that justice.
But also, we know that people in their positions can never move on. They can only move forward, but they can't move forward because they're waiting. But how about also all of Officer Copeland's colleagues and law enforcement, not just in his office, but in all of the offices who were waiting, and they go, wait a second, what is this court system doing that it can't do something faster than 7 years? And so efficiency is important to me to move things. Let's take it fentanyl. Y'all know how important fentanyl is.
Yeah, we've had it as a topic on the show many times, talking about how destructive it is.
So someone has a fentanyl case. If we wait 7 years from 2024, and fentanyl's important, like an officer's death is important.
Sure.
We take 7 years in 2031, it's not going to be a fentanyl issue anymore. Our court has already done a fentanyl murder and a fentanyl death trial. Wow. And I think that's really important, because what it means is when you have the issues that are most important to the community, you're handing them in a timely basis. If I'm handling cases that were from 7 years ago, it's not timely.
I want to talk about something that was really controversial in our community, and that was the Avery Anderson, the district clerk, and you presided over the case. He has since resigned. Is that what we're calling it?
He did.
He resigned.
When you say, before, I want to clarify, when you say case, somebody sued him, or what was the case? And then finish your question.
So a couple of things happened. Originally, Mr. Anderson, Avery Anderson, the new graduate from Dripping Springs High School, who took over as the district clerk, he put in an action to remove the district attorney. The district attorney then responded with an action to remove him. Oh. So those two cases were pending for a while. They weren't going anywhere because there was kind of they were in a standoff and a standstill. Separately, someone came in. Thomas Just was the name of the attorney who brought the case. He brought a case to remove the district clerk.
Okay.
And then that started the process. Now, when he first brought it in, they were not going to do the case until the trial for about a year. But then things kept happening, and they happened in our court. And this is when you said I presided over the case, over his removal case. That was not me. Okay. You cannot have anyone from your same county.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So they brought in a judge from Austin, and she handled the case. But the reason that I was involved many times in the case was because he was not getting out the jury summons.
Yes.
And there's nothing, I remember the day, I remember it very vividly. No jurors were coming in, and, I'm up there at the bench and I see the defendant and his leg was knocking. This was his day.
Yeah.
And he was going to be in trial that day. The defense attorney had worked up his case and he was ready to go. He was a San Antonio attorney. He'd come up, they were ready to go. The state had prepared their case, brought in their witnesses, done everything. Wow. And then the jurors didn't show up.
No jurors showed up.
No, none. Because they didn't have notice. The problem was that happened 3 times. And so I started
a waste of everybody's time.
Waste of time, and it's not
resources,
fair to and it's not fair to the defendant.
No.
It's not fair to and the defendant deserves to have
day in court.
His day in court.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to that victim who didn't get to come forward and tell what she believes or he believes happened. In that case, it was a female in one of them. That's not fair either. And then it's not fair to the public. You deserve justice to be administered. And the question then is if someone is impeding the court's ability to carry out the duties of the court. Mm-hmm. And let's be very specific. That's the standard. So that was the standard that I was using. It took a lot of work to get into this and dig into what I could look at. What I wanted to know from Mr. Anderson was, why was this happening? And I think this goes to the importance of finding the right district clerk, never mind district clerks, in all positions, that we find officials who lead with integrity.
That was my question, was why even more so now is it important to know your candidate and to know who they are, not necessarily because they have a certain letter after their name, but why is it important to know who your candidate is? And this right here is exactly why. When you have somebody who's been put in a place and who, quote, falls asleep during very important trainings.
Yeah. You knew about that.
I know about it. I mean, we followed it.
That came from our hearing.
Yes.
It was a moment where, and this was the thing and why we need leaders. We need good leaders, and you have to go out and find candidates who have the ability and competency to carry out the work. It's so important because everything has to be working. To get to a trial, if you imagine, we've got clerks, we've got a court reporter, we've got bailiffs, we've got jurors, we've got security downstairs, we've got the summons that have to go out. I mean, it's a massive undertaking.
It's a big machine.
But
But
I don't understand, and we kind of asked Anthony this question when he was in here, Anthony Hippolito, why do these types of positions and offices have to be politicized? Why do they have to be associated with a party? Is it just the way the system is set up? I mean, you have to run as a Democrat, you have to run as a Republican.
You would think that the district clerk would be nonpartisan.
You would. And why is because it goes back to Texas's earliest days and Texas history. They said, we're not going to have a system where people are telling us who's going to rule over us. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to elect, even down, we're going to elect our JPs, we're going to elect our sheriffs. Like law enforcement, we're electing law enforcement. They said, yes, that's our history. And then as part of elections, you end up having the political parties.
Sides.
Well, I don't know that you choose to, but you have to in order to get on the ballot.
Yeah.
And that's really the unfortunate part. I think running for office is very difficult, and it's a tough process, and I don't wish it on my worst enemy.
It's a job in itself, isn't it?
It is, but it's also there's good out of it. I have to go talk to people in the community all the time, and I do. And just yesterday, I was in High Point, and I was talking to two people who had been jurors, and I said, "How was your experience?" They said, well, one of them, the judge didn't come out for an hour and a half.
Oh, jeez.
And so we were all just there waiting. And this is good feedback. Okay, it matters to jurors. Mm-hmm. You come out, you tell them, hey, this is what's going on. We're not ready for you yet, but the defense attorney's talking to the state. We've got to have this one more hearing. And what I have found, the people of Hays County are incredible. They are showing up for jury duty in a percentage that is better than all around the state.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm proud of us.
Good for you,
look
people
at
of
that.
Hays County.
You're earning your what is it, $11?
Or less.
$17.
So they're showing up, and what I find is what they want to know is that their time is not being wasted.
Right, is valuable. When you're trying a case, do you have like a big thick file that you go through before you go out in the court so you kind of know what's going on? Or do you learn the facts of the case from the attorneys as it's presented to you?
I learn it with the jurors.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting. I didn't know that that's how that works. So,
and jurors don't know that either, because when I go and speak to them afterwards, talk to them about their experience, they said, they always want to know more. Uh-huh. And I say, the judge doesn't know it. We find out at the same time that they do. It's just that we come at, when I'm listening to the evidence, I'm listening to it from a very different perspective.
Sure. They're
listening to it for the facts. I'm trying to look around corners at all times. Okay, is the proper foundation being laid?
Right.
what
From
could
a
be,
legal standpoint.
That's right. What could be the hearsay that's coming up? Because they don't tell me before they're laying that foundation, hey, judge, we're about to start laying the foundation so that we can get in this evidence. You have to be listening to it. So it's a different perspective.
Do you have those conversations sometimes from the bench like they show on TV? Come on, counselor, get to the point.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to probably more, but I don't.
You let them go sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things about I think what's important for me and what I want to do for the attorneys of Hays County. I'm not there to be in the middle of it. I'm there to facilitate their ability to come in and try their case, be it the criminal defense attorney,
You're more like the referee,
state.
You're not deciding how it goes. You're just making sure the game is fair.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier that about watching on the live stream. So if you want to see how he works, get on YouTube.
And you got some
watch
I love that. But you got some pushback on that, didn't you?
little live streaming over there. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I got a lot of pushback, and I think. Look, it was something new. It was a change. People are reluctant. If they haven't done it ever, they haven't seen it. Very different than what happened when I was a prosecutor at the end of my career in San Antonio. Those cases against one of the defendants' name was Gat Daddy. One of them's name was Snake Man because he always had a snake around his. By the way, very easy to identify the shooter when you can say. They said, "Do you know his name?" No. How did you know who he was? Because he always had a snake around his neck. And so we'd see.
Pretty easy.
We had videos of him with the snake around his neck. But in those cases there at the end, there were always cameras that were in all of my cases at that point. So I'm very familiar with it. And in Hays County, they had never allowed cameras.
I was going to say, were you the first judge to allow to get cameras in there?
Go ahead.
From one of the judges here, yes. Amy Clark Meacham, who had come to do the Avery Anderson case, she had allowed cameras in for her. But other than that, it hadn't been done in district courts of Hays County. So you can imagine there's just going to be some natural
Anytime you
pushback.
do something new like
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, there's people that.
But look, it's about transparency.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, of
People
course.
have.
It's always good.
They hold us accountable.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're holding yourself accountable, though, right?
I tell you
more
what,
than anything.
More than anything, I'm up there more often, and I know that by doing this,
You're
people are
being
going to come
watched.
after me even more because if I give a sentence, half of the people are going to think it's too much, half of them are going to think it's too little.
Isn't that the way of the world now?
It is
In every decision.
But fine,
Yeah.
hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that what they'll see is what I'm trying to do is do what's right.
Right.
Do the right things for the right reasons is what I was taught as a very young prosecutor. I try to follow that at all times. And if I do it and people don't like it, so be it.
Yeah.
But I know that when I go home, I did it for the right reasons.
For the right reason. I want to ask you, so Snake Man, sounds like he probably got convicted. Is it sometimes dangerous being a criminal judge?
Yes. Just from right up the road here, there was a judge who was shot by a defendant who was in her court. She was turning into her home at night, and a defendant jumped out from behind some trash cans and shot her.
That's scary.
And so,
Do you get any type of protection, like in general, like when you have a very high profile case? You have protection at the courthouse, obviously in the courthouse, but if you had a very high profile criminal case, if needed, would you be given protection?
if we had
Warranted.
some sort of intelligence that made it necessary, I imagine that law enforcement would be interested. But
You could tell that our vision of what you do is from TV. So TV and movies.
I mean, our big protection is that they take our names off of the appraisal district.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You can't find
So-
where you live.
so you don't know where we live.
So we're going to run out of time here, but you're going to be up for election for not for the first time, but for first time for this position. You want to tell us why you want people to vote for you?
And then after that, I have just like a couple little rapid fire for you.
I want to hear those. Those are really
Okay.
good. But why should people give you their vote?
Because I'm doing the right things for the right reasons. What I am doing here is changing Hays County for the better. When I first started, there were dozens of defendants who had been waiting for their day in court for over 3 years, over 1,000 days. I just ran the numbers this weekend. There's only one.
Oh,
We are bringing down those backlogs. My colleagues are there with me too. But this court is really moving cases. And I help my colleagues. We're moving cases, but that's on the criminal side. That means that what we're doing is giving the defendants their day in court. You've said it many times, Michelle. That means that we're empowering victims to come in and tell what their story is. In so many cases, those are women who are victims of assault, aggravated assault, family violence assault, domestic assault, sexual assault. We're giving them that. And then we're giving the public, because we are moving those cases timely. For instance, on the fentanyl that I gave you, we've already done those 2 big fentanyl cases. The timely administration of justice is good for Hays County. And that's what our court's doing. That's on the criminal side, but that's not it. On the civil side, our court is very actively moving civil cases. I was told when I came here, and I know that attorney, I won't say his name, who said it, but he said, Hays County is known as where civil cases go to die.
oh, geez.
So for instance, one of the cases that we tried, they call it the Christmas Miracle because we did it on December 18th. Most of the other courts weren't trying cases at that time, but this was a case where a truck of a big company had hit 2 workers.
Okay.
And the 2 workers were injured and needed some relief and needed to tell their story. And then the company had this case that's hanging over their head for 7 years.
Jeez.
And so we gave them that day. And what's interesting is after the case, and this has happened in multiple of these civil cases that we've done, usually the loser of the case, that sounds bad, they didn't win the verdict. The judge was at fault. In those cases, though, they're now supporting me because what they're appreciative of is they know I can try a case. I've done 156 cases as a advocate and as a judge. In the first 20 months, we've done 40 trials, which is unprecedented in Hays County. But that's moving the cases. This week, for instance, I set 8 civil cases, just civil only. So I wasn't going to put criminal in front of them. And that's why under the Texas law, you have to try a criminal case before a civil case because of all the rights that are involved. That makes sense.
It does.
But then that means that civil cases, you never get to them. Well, this week we had 8 cases that were set, and yet we still, they settled all of them. It's not just going to trial, it's changing that perception in Hays County that this judge will go to trial on civil cases. And so we had tried at one point more civil cases in 6 months. There's longer context to tell you, and I won't bore you with that, but it's important. And now that perception is changing. That's good for businesses.
Sure.
People want to move to Hays County and open business.
Yeah.
They can't be waiting all day for the courts.
That's right.
They're trying, we've got family issues. They need the courts. Someone's been injured. Plaintiffs, they need to bring those cases. And if the courts aren't working efficiently, then they can't get that justice. And so both on the criminal and civil side, we're doing that. It's hard to tell people that aren't in this field all the time, but we're really changing that perception. And I'm so proud of it. I think we can go out there and win this thing. It's an uphill battle. But I know that what we have done has changed this county, and I'm really proud of that.
Well, vote person, not politics.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
sure. Okay.
So people can go to tannerfortexas.com.
tannerfortexas.com. Okay.
So here's some fun stuff, and then we're going to wrap
Let's have
up.
fun.
Okay, so indicative,
Rapid fire question.
indicative of your nickname Tito, and your love for the Latin community. What is your favorite Latin country?
Oh, it's Colombia.
Colombia.
I did a Fulbright scholarship there in 2001 to 2002, and the people are just fantastic,
Oh, I
and the
bet.
salsa dancing, and the soccer, and And the salsa dancing. I just love it.
We didn't even get to the fact that he was a two-stepper also. And you've also done a lot of internships. You were an intern at the FBI, at the AG of Memphis. You were a JAG, Air Force, Supreme Court of Mexico. What was your favorite internship? Oh, you're not going to hurt their feelings.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. Really. Well, the JAG was so interesting. I really wanted to go in the direction of the JAG long term. In the end, I didn't do it, but I learned so much while I was there and seeing on the inside. But then the FBI, I was there in 1998. That was the year that...
Is that the Unabomber? No?
No, 2 of our embassies were bombed in Africa. Oh, yeah. It was the Monica's blue dress that was walked through the building.
Oh, wow.
It was major things. And it was a different time for the FBI. It was when people had a lot of confidence in the FBI.
Or they actually respected three-letter agencies?
Since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever worn shorts under your robe? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, darn it. Have you ever said, order with the court, out of court?
No.
No. What's your
That surprises me. Order to court.
Yeah.
What's your favorite snack during long trials?
Just a trail mix.
A trail mix. That's boring, like Steve.
Yep, we're healthy.
What happens if you have to pee?
Well, the jurors are thinking the same thing.
Okay.
So I got to take care of them, and I always have to give them a break. So we have a break mid-morning, we have a break mid-afternoon, and then right before we go on the bench, it's business is taken care
Yeah,
of.
there you go.
And my last question, if you had the opportunity to preside over one historical case, which one would you choose? That's top of mind. Which one that comes to the top of mind? Oh, I would think O.J. Simpson or something like that.
See,
that one
again,
that
TV.
that one was not efficiently done. So I would like to efficiently pull it in. Here's what I would say is any case where you have really good attorneys on both sides, just imagine that position up there. When we're sitting there, it's the best seat in the house when you have really good attorneys. And when you have really good attorneys and they're fighting it out, I'm not having to carry any of the water. They're going to make the right objection at the right time. There's going to be the response. And gosh, that's the moment that you're really enjoying.
Do you ever have an attorney and you think that they should object and they don't? Do you like give them a look or something, or do you just let it roll?
You got to let it roll.
Gosh,
it's their case. Look, they may have made the decision not to object for a strategic reason.
Yeah,
and it's not for me to get in the way of that.
Yeah.
Well, Steve and I said that we would also be really good judges because we're really judgy. We said earlier.
And I judge that you did a great job, Judge
did.
Tanner.
Oh, thank you.
This was really fun.
But I'm disappointed. I thought you were going to ask for a judge joke based on what I listened to before.
Let's go out with a judge joke.
Give us a judge joke.
Well, I don't want you to. I don't want you to think that this is my idea, but I just think it's a good joke.
Okay.
Okay, and it was
The spotlight's on you, Judge Tanner.
I know it well.
Wait, let me record. I'm going to record it. Okay, go.
Okay, I was married by a judge. I should have demanded a jury. Now that's not my position. It was a Groucho Marx, but doesn't that just
That's
go
a good
to
one. That's
judge
classic.
Tanner will
versus
be
jury?
sleeping on the
100 years
couch
old, Groucho
tonight.
Marx. Yeah. Well, Judge Tanner, thank you so much for coming in, and we wish you the best of luck with your upcoming election. I hope things go your way.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you all doing this because it gives people the opportunity to find out more about candidates. Y'all deserve the credit here and just bringing attention to all kinds of the most important issues in our city. So thank you all very much.
Well, I loved having some time with you and getting to know you personally and just doing a deep dive on the fact that you graduated with 19 people.
Yeah. And on that note, we're out of here with Tito.
Thank you.
That's right.
Muy bien. Nos vemos mañana.
Adios, Tito.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Hasta luego.
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
Need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit. Your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set it and forget it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready. Elevate your living experience with M. Elliott Studio, your trusted partner in interior design, registered and licensed by the state of Texas.
You want your home to reflect your personal style and identity. Investing in a well-crafted design doesn't just beautify your home, it enriches your life.
Team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, understands the profound impact of a thoughtfully designed space. From remodeling to full design, M. Elliott Studio is the first step to unlocking your style.
Turn your aspirations into reality. Tailored to your taste and desires, M. Elliott Studio will work to create an environment that embraces your style with style.
Your space, their expertise.
melliotstudio.com 512-781-0224.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallet Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.